are not on your camera.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm almost. I mean, I'm almost there.
Oh, you mean you're still writing?
Yeah, I'm finishing up.
I see. Jeremy is we barely did today's show because we are both overexposed, over doing too much. um,
Yes. Man, I think probably we don't dive right in, but just kind of like stick to what we're tell folks what's going on, what we're overextended with.
yeah, that's fine. Somebody actually did already ask about how to do salvia. Well, how to
Dude, torch
experience
lighter
salvia.
and a
I
massive bowl. That's literally the
love
only
talking
way.
about salvia, but the problem is that's what my entire channel is about.
How do you do salvia? Oops, shit, hold on.
I don't know. I never thought about it. How do you smoke salvia?
You do it with bravery and focus.
Yeah, bravery and focus. Yes, and you go. Why am I keep on? My voice keeps on being too loud. It's basically just like smoking weed, to tell you the truth, ultimately, except that the best way to do it, that I always tell people to do it, is to build up over time. So, take a small bowl, and you won't feel it, like just a few flakes of extract, and then 2 minutes later, you probably won't feel it. So you take another few flakes of extract. And 2 minutes later, you still might not feel it. So 2 minutes later, you do some more. And eventually, you will ramp up to where you want to be. But there is a reverse tolerance and kind of this threshold thing when people are first beginning, where oftentimes people their first time or a couple times just don't feel it, almost no matter what they do. But it does work, and if you keep smoking enough, it will hit. And the one thing you really don't want to do is just go for it and be like, well, fuck it. What's the worst? Well, the worst is that it could fuck you up if you take too much. So you want to avoid doing that. All right. That was the 30-second lesson in smoking
You
salvia.
didn't, yeah. You didn't mention using a torch lighter and holding it for 40 seconds. I heard that's important. Is that true?
Yeah, he's being sarcastic. Yep, I heard that too. Actually, I've got a lot of videos I'd like to make. I haven't made it other than these live streams. Um, I haven't made a new video in like, well, maybe not months, but definitely weeks. I just don't have time. And I'm not even shooting video anymore. And the reason is because I've got so much video that I've already shot that I haven't edited that, like, what's the point?
Are you like not? You're like video nihilist.
You would have to define that for me, and then I will tell you if I agree or
You
not.
you say what's the point about video things?
Oh, well, yeah, at this point, kind of like, I don't mean in general, what's the point of video? I love making video. I just mean that, like, shooting more video. Like, I want to make one I want to make a video that is debunking salvia myths,
Oh,
including
nice,
including the torchlighter thing. And I even like
nice.
wrote it, and I've got it all like prepared. If I get around to making it, it'll be good. But right now, Jesus Christ, man, I don't know if I've ever been this busy.
Yeah, what do you got going on?
Well, so the usual is I've got a full-time job and I've got a family. That's a lot of people. That's all they've got going on. I've got more.
And that's true.
Of course, I've got this podcast and this channel that doesn't get as much attention as I would like lately, but that's how it is. And then I'm also roofing my shed, and it is in Oregon in late September in Oregon. Like, you're running up against the clock because eventually it just starts raining and it doesn't really stop, and then you're done for the year. So I don't even know if I'm gonna get it done, to tell you the truth. And then the other thing is that the big thing going on in my life right now is that the mushroom church that I was part of broke up a few weeks ago. But some of the some folks have kind of have found one another and have started planning and organizing together to build something new. We don't exactly know what it is, and I am absolutely front and center in that effort. And it takes a lot of energy. So it's a very exciting time, to tell you the truth. It's a really, really exciting time. As we are like organizing, and I'm organizing these, mostly me, frankly, organizing these meetings, and we've got a psychedelic journey that we're going to be doing this weekend, and it almost feels as though I have been training for this my whole life, because every little thing, I'm like, it's the first time I think I've ever done anything and been like, I know what I'm doing here. I didn't know it, but I spent the last 20 years studying how to start a psychedelic church, basically.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if people don't know you, you've led church, taught church, been part of church, been part of psychedelic world, been part of all the pieces of this spiritual leader, psychic, community organizer. This is like all your skills in one place, right?
Exactly. And I have basically, it's not by design. I'm not like the official leader, but since there is a gap there's no organization, and so somebody has to, I wouldn't say call the shots, but somebody has to be the one who says, okay, let's blah, 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 right? And it's basically always me.
What do you think, well, actually, that's not even a real question. Presumably it's you, because you're the one stepping up to do it, because you have the mix of desire and know-how.
Yep.
Does that seem true?
That's exactly right. Not that I know everything, and not that everybody else doesn't know anything, but it was also the desire thing. Like, hey, this is my career. This is my vocation. And if anybody's gonna stand up and do it, it's gonna be me.
All right, man. Cool.
Yeah. So hey, remember when you was like, well, what is your standing in that community, in the Mushroom Temple community? Well, these days it's pretty high.
Yeah, it's funny because you also tried to volunteer at the church for a long time, and it didn't totally pan out. So now you're, well, to not mince words, in charge.
Yeah, basically. And boy, we had one watcher at the very beginning who asked us about salvia. Now we don't have any. Our last one didn't have a lot either, but
well, I'll say then, Chris, that your mom and I are real proud of you. We weren't sure you were going to make anything out of yourself, but now that you're leader of a psychedelic church, we know that you're going to do great things. So.
That's great. Hey, how's your microphone? Are you using your?
And what?
I did hear what you said, but you're just not very loud.
All right, let me get my earpiece. Sorry, I was kind of, believe it or not, multitasking.
I stopped playing because I wanted to change keys, but then I forgot. Oh, I should do this.
I haven't actually heard you play in lots of months because it's never on the sound. Do you sound the same or different?
Well, right now I'm really minimalist and ambient. I couldn't get my main software to work. So I'm only playing a seaboard, like I'm just going straight through Equator 2. So it's only the synthesizer with a seaboard, and I just have a a nice, like, a pad, basically, that I'm moving around with.
Do you want to continue the show just for posterity?
Oh, well, I mean, no, yeah. I wasn't trying to say we should stop. I mean, we could have 5 people show up any moment. It goes
great.
up and down.
All right. So, well, I guess to kind of continue the thread, awesome. Let us know how all that goes, because obviously, well, maybe not your shed, but the temple certainly.
Yeah, I'll be sure to tell you how the shed is going.
Can really go places. So, yeah, my check-in is similar. Honestly, I'm at the 11th hour of trying to buy a property that we have discovered that we can basically afford, but we're having to be very strategic and paying much more than we're expected to, and everything required to own and run and take care of this place is all the skill sets I've always had. Everything from wanting to live in the woods, to managing rentals, to working on repairs like you do, and being a community organizer, and so we're psyched. I've been super busy with emails and texts and fixing this fuck up and writing this letter, and it's kind of been nonstop, and so very exciting times. We're hoping it goes our way, and we have a lot of visions and dreams for the place. So that's the main thing. This all started, Kate, my partner, is teaching in San Francisco, so this all started right before she left. So I thought I'd have a few days off, but that didn't work out that way. Instead, after 3 years on the market without an offer, and ours being the only offer that they rejected last February, now there's 3 simultaneous offers out of nowhere. So that's kind of the context. And then, let's see, I also, in other news, I decided I wanted to try nitrous oxide. And so I have a trip report to share, and I thought I might even try it during this call, because it's so short acting that you can do things with that drug that you can't do with anything else. And kind of inspired by how differently it works, I made a list of, which I've been talking about for a long time, and finally sat down and made a list of the use I associate with each drug, both internal and external. It wasn't super thorough, but it was just a sketch of that we could probably discuss. But so anyway, those are things I thought we could talk about today. What about you?
We never talked about DMX. I brought and DMX actually in our description and stuff. Both DMX and nitrous were, things we could talk, because we never talked about DMX. Right? I kind of avoided talking to you about it because I thought we'd shoot it.
We'd shoot it? What do you mean?
Shoot video. Here.
What?
When you're taking video, it's called shooting video.
No, I know. Yeah, I said, yeah. But you said we were going to talk about DXM, but instead we were going to shoot it. Is that what you said?
Oh, what I said is that we almost talked about it a different day, just the two of us, but I don't think we talked about it very much, because I said, right. Why don't we do it on the podcast?
You last I heard, you had shared your first experience and you were going to do another one. And so I guess I don't know if you did or not.
No, I don't have time for that. It could be a year before I have time for something like that.
Ironic, huh? What does it mean if you become the head of a psychedelic church and you no longer have time to trip? What do you think that means?
Well, I had a friend who wanted to... Is
that like a sellout, or all the other psychonauts going to be like, you sold out, man. You got a real job. You're not a real psychonaut anymore. You don't even have time to trip.
Yeah, well, that's how Ram Dass was, right?
Wait, how?
Like, he was all a psychonaut, obviously, and then he retired from it and said, hey, I've got better stuff to do.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's kind of a guru. All right, well, cool. DXM, nitrous, other things.
Well, let's see. Well, we'll just pretend we didn't talk about, haven't talked about it at all, and we'll the DXM. So DXM, if you don't know, is a cough suppressant. So, and it's one of the active ingredients in like Robitussin. So they call it robo-tripping because some people just take Robitussin, although it's actually very bad for you to just take regular cold syrup because of all of the other ingredients. DXM, from what I understand, in reasonable doses is, as long as you're reasonable with it, is not terribly dangerous or anything.
Okay, cool. That's good. Yeah, I was never sure, but it sounds like it's kind of in the ketamine kind of sedative class of things, right? Is that true?
Yeah, what's funny is that I prepared, I was on retreat, and I was alone. I had the house, or actually my parents' house, but whatever. I had a house for like 3 days, and I was looking forward to, I set up my gear, my music gear. I was going to play all this music and shoot all this video, but I didn't really, I did read about DXM, but obviously I didn't read enough about it, and some of it was kind of contradictory. So I didn't really know really what I was in for. And then it, made me nauseated, which I didn't know I was in for. And that was annoying. And also it really made me tired. It didn't put me to sleep, but it made me tired, and I just like sunk into my bed. I am planning on one of these days editing a video. I did shoot some video and making a video about a video of when I actually took it, but I have not edited that, and I don't know when I will.
All right.
At first, I didn't like it. I was just nauseated, and here's another thing: is it reminds me honestly of a hangover.
Oh.
Because you don't get open eye visuals, hallucinations at all. At least I didn't. At all. But your vision is sort of blurry when your eyes are open, and light kind of hurts your eyes. I had just my eyes closed the whole time because the experience was so much better when I closed my eyes. Yeah, I was even on video, just like talking about my experience and like with my eyes closed.
Yeah, that's anyway, that became part of the list that I made. Some just knock you out. That's kind of just like how they work. You just kind of have to lay there.
But eventually the nausea went away. I did throw up and was like on the toilet a few times. That was annoying, like I said, especially since I didn't see that coming. But ultimately, when that went away and I closed my eyes, like the closed eyes visual is really interesting. There were patterns kind of it's the only time I've seen this where there was it wasn't like the paisley or geometric kinds of stuff that regular hallucinogens give you. This was very like rotating things. I would see like tunnels, slow rotating tunnels and stuff like that.
Interesting.
And then what I was working on that time was the notion of submission to authority. And eventually, when I was really high, it became like submission to God.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So it felt like you could do kind of non-dual or like unitive work on it.
Yeah, definitely. Very similar to ketamine, where it's not cognitive so much. You're not coming up with like ideas.
It's astral, I'd say.
I guess.
I like that word. Well, I mean, it means something to me of like an energy body that's not physical,
but it's not etheric. It has density, which is why you can have non-ordinary experiences, like floating above your bed and seeing yourself, and you're kind of still connected to your body, but you're in pure awareness and you can move around.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So the idea was, and I came up with all the. I say it's not very cognitive, but I was coming up with ideas. Was that within the subjective field, which is your experience, you've got obviously the body mind, which represents whatever the central point of view, but it's a very limited, very mortal. And then another symbol that you might create within the subjective stream, that the mind creates within the subjective stream, is God, which represents your highest wisdom. And it's not going to be the same for everybody, because your highest wisdom isn't the same for everybody. But it's basically the highest truth that you have access to, and then that becomes represented within your life as God, or it potentially does, at least for some people. What that means is that if you want to live like the best life you can, then you actually should submit yourself to the authority of God, because from a non-dual perspective, what you're actually submitting to is just your own highest wisdom.
Yeah, oh, nice.
And then I realized personally that I've always been very rebellious, and I have a lot of stick it to the man. Somebody tells me what to do, I'm like, fuck you, right? And so I have these ideals, I have these ideals that I think are probably, good, and they're my highest wisdom, but I end up rebelling against them anyway, because I resent the being bossed around.
By yourself.
By yourself, exactly. And so it was the revelation was kind of like when God says, eat your vegetables. God isn't actually saying, I'm going to make you go to hell if you don't eat your vegetables. What he's saying is that you are going to like your life more if you eat your vegetables. Now, you do whatever the fuck you're going to do. You're still free to do whatever you want, but I'm trying to give you wisdom here. Eat your vegetables and you will like your life more. So it isn't a bossing around authority thing. It's more of a source of useful information. And if you can submit to that, if you can train yourself to submit to that, then it will improve your life. And that's what I was working on while I was on DXM.
Dude, well, number one, let that be a model for all psychonauts of how to do drugs, both in content, form, and function, which I second. And then also, that's super cool. I like that. I like that realization. It's funny, I'm the opposite. I have always been really, really good at bossing myself around and really willing to follow my own dictates. And over time, I've gotten more and more rebellious. So I think at some point, Chris and I crossed, and now I'm trying to get him to misbehave. And he's like, no, man, that's just not my lesson anymore. I already did that. And so that's kind of funny.
Yeah, I can.
All right, cool. So interesting. I like that. Interesting stuff.
At first, oftentimes these experiences, I'm like, I don't know if that's for me. I was kind of like, I don't know if it's for me. On one level, DXM just seems like a poor man's ketamine, and if you can get ketamine, why would you ever do DXM? On the other hand, it is different. I did have a good time. It was valuable, and the fact that it's legal and you can literally buy it on Amazon. I mean, we talk about this drug is legal and that drug is legal, but DXM is a powerful psychedelic, which is literally on Amazon. So, just its legal status means that it's kind of should be on the table, I think.
Yeah, it's not always logical, is it? How that all works.
What is legal? It is like never logical.
Yeah, how things are scheduled and whatnot.
All right. So, did you want to talk about nitrous oxide?
Yeah, so William James, let's look him up. Philosopher, consciousness pioneer, like Renaissance man, multi, the fuck's that word?
I know what you're looking for. For somebody
Polymath.
who's really talented at lots of different stuff.
Yeah, polymath. Anyway, so for him, I don't know much about, I haven't studied his life. So this is kind of conjecture, but it's pretty early on. He had available to him and used nitrous. Don't know what else he had available, but he has a very famous quote saying that realities are parted by the filmiest of screens. And that's one of his notes noted and like restated quotes to underlie all this stuff: psychedelics, consciousness, altered states, psychology, spirituality, like just all that. So he was into it, and I thought that was really interesting. I had that with kratom at first. It was like, wait, isn't that what thugs buy at gas stations? And then I was like, that's
yeah,
stupid.
right.
It's a plant like everything else. Nitrous has this lineage, and I find it's important to me to establish a lineage of use and culture, and I don't know, I don't go overboard, but it kind of if LSD has a lineage, what you're connecting to culturally. So anyway, I did it once.
I think just to interrupt you for a moment, the idea that LSD has a lineage, I think, is an important point, because oftentimes we're all plant medicines and all the the natives and people with brown skin have they've got the real medicine, and the evil whites with their chemicals are terrible. But actually, even LSD at this point, it's only 70 years old, but it has its own lineage. Okay, there.
And I guess to your point, well, we live in a multifaceted world. Indigenous lineage is real and crucial and important and beautiful, and it often connects to cactus and ayahuasca and whatnot. And then Western world, including Shulgin and including
Hoffman,
why am I blanking on who created LSD?
But Hoffman.
Albert
Hoffman,
and a number of others that synthesized. These guys, they were getting plant matter back in the day, 30s, 40s, 50s, and extracting and trying to synthesize what they thought was figuring out how these worked. And so Hoffman did that. They were anthropologists, really. So yeah, that's the lineage too. But like Western culture, it's not all bad, and we created some chemicals that have some real MDMA. I mean, these are real therapeutic, and honestly, oftentimes much more dialed. You eat a plant, you get what you get, and obviously they're real and terrific medicines, and then you create something in a laboratory for a specific purpose. I won't lie, I tend to enjoy chemical extracts, not with cannabis. It depends on what, but anyway, I don't make such a distinction between natural and chemical. It's all chemistry at some level, and a lineage. I mean, look at the 60s. I mean, you can't blame it all on LSD, but like our culture went from the 50s to the 70s with drugs and rock and roll. Like, that's pretty massive. Other cultures don't change that much in 1,000 years. So anyway, yeah, lineage. So I did it. And I'll be honest, I didn't. I need to do another session to really put it to good use. And I'm thinking about doing it on this call because it's such a short trip.
How long? Now, you have done this before, right?
I've done nitrous once so far.
And how long did you say it lasted? Why don't you just talk about the experience you had,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then we'll think
Yes.
about you doing it on screen.
So it's a gas, it's in a canister, you put it in a balloon, you inhale it. And you can, it's like anything, you just figure out how much you want to take. And I did a whole balloon in like maybe 2 or 3 lungfuls. And I would say well, huh. One of my jokes is all drugs just make you dizzy, which obviously isn't true. But if you, at a low enough dosage, the similarities, I mean, you're destabilizing your ordinary state of consciousness. So you figure your body's going to feel funny, you might feel a little dizzy, it's harder to track things. I mean, these are like really low level effects, or really, yeah. So it felt like that. It felt like a body load. It felt like a little bit like ketamine, but very fast. I didn't take enough to check out further threshold or like higher dose effects.
But you took a whole big balloon.
I took a whole big balloon. I think there's a lot of different domains to go to, but the one I was in, I wouldn't want to be standing, and even sitting with my eyes open, I was like kind of dizzy and disoriented. So it felt better to lay down. It feels like lay down and do it, kind of let your body melt kind of thing. And then that kind of went away. So the effect was very simple. It just kind of felt like a even kind of somatic rush, kind of warm, kind of like round, not prickly at all, not intense, but potentially overwhelming if you take enough. I realized after the fact that the sensation itself wasn't that interesting to me, and really what I need to do is bring a question and information to it, like is good to do with all that stuff. But here's where it gets interesting for me. Just talking about nitrous, but in the context of what now I'm kind of looking at all the various medicines in order, well, not in order, but organized into kind of what you might use them for, the effect they have on different aspects of the mind or the body, kind of therapeutic meets consciousness. And nitrous specifically, I think is really fascinating. Here's why. So you have a drug that you can push the limits on experientially pretty hard. If you take enough, it's gonna knock you out. And I'm guessing you can exit your sense. And I haven't done enough, so I apologize for that. But it's been a busy week, so. High enough dosages, I really think you can go into a non-dual state where you completely detach from your own individuality, completely from your own ego.
Specifically with nitrous oxide, huh?
Yeah, you can go deep enough that the sensation of reality is intense enough that it would take over. Now, I'll see if I can confirm that in the upcoming days, and we'll do another better report next Wednesday. But so that's one thing. You can take it pretty far, potentially that far. Number two, it's very short acting, like 4 or 5 minutes.
Now I'm confused. Can I break in? Because
Yeah.
I have not. My only experience with nitrous oxide is from my early 20s, and I remember doing it a few times at like festivals. You could buy a balloon for $3 or $4 or something.
Yeah.
And I even had a friend who, like you, bought some and was into it, and I did it a couple times with him. So I did it a few times. Actually, Erin, my wife, had this phrase, spit like a balloon. That's when the balloon is spent when it's empty, right?
Oh,
And when
spent,
something
yeah.
gets empty or something, it's spent like a balloon, but it comes from its original origin was from when the nitrous, the balloon of nitrous is empty. But I
Yeah,
remember it being a little bit different. I remember it being extremely intense, but not really psychedelic, and only lasting like a minute, like shorter than salvia.
it's much shorter than salvia, and it also clears out pretty quickly. I felt a little lingering effect, but it was not much. So I agree with you. It's very intense. I didn't, like I said, I didn't push it too hard, but I know that that's there. And yeah, a minute. I would say it depends on your context. But if you're laying there and you're really in it, you could probably
Okay, I got you.
stick, 4 minutes, 3. Anyway, so, but that, it just got me thinking, right? So, Chris, your thing is stacking, right? And you're creating these experiences based on different chemicals and their arcs and whatnot. But nitrous is so short that you're going to use it with such fine detail in whatever process you're part of, right, in yourself. So like you described your DXM experience, right, when you're surrendering and whatnot. Now it took a while to get there because you had a couple hours or 4, whatever it was, right? Like you built into it.
Right.
Right. So with this, you have to be prepared because you don't have hardly any time in the state. So you gather yourself, you decide, what do I want to ask? What do I want to do? And it has to be something short, a prayer, a question, a tap in. I've almost got it, but this one detail I can't figure out. You're basically in your own creative process, sober, or potentially on other stuff, but then you can use nitrous to go into this space with like really great intention. Now, otherwise, it's a short, fast trip, and that's fine. But, as we say over and over on these calls, the more you're bringing to it, the more you can get out of it. And you don't have to just lean into the felt experience of it. You can lean into the information and the creative insight and the spiritual experience. That's really where the energy comes from on this medicine. So anyway, that's kind of my spiel. It's short, it's intense, it's psychedelic in a particular way, but it's more overwhelming, and I feel like it could be directed in such a way that that you could use it in lots of different ways. So that kind of remains to be seen. That's my next project, is to really put it to use with questions. I don't think lying down might be the way. For me, I think sitting might be the way. And I kind of started making a distinction of which really are for lying down and what is for sitting. Not that there's only one use, but like if I had to, turn into a practice. So anyway, that's my report. Perhaps a little underwhelming, but the experience was a little off the cuff, and I wasn't sure what to expect, and I didn't really come to it with any great intention, so it didn't really leave me with much. But I'll have a better report next time.
It's interesting what you say about, you kind of are talking about like learning how to use a substance. And it isn't just like, the book stuff, like the neurologies. Once you're on it, you feel the actual tool. You're not just speculating at that point. You can actually feel what it's for. And on the DXM, it took me about 2 or 3 hours. At first, I just didn't like it. I was like, I feel like I have a hangover. Then I realized, okay, if I close my eyes and meditate into it, it's better. And I even made a few videos, like being like, okay, I'm getting there. I can tell it's there. Just give me some time. And then maybe about 2 hours, I was like, okay, I did it. Now I'm having fun. I finally figured out how to use DXM.
Yeah, it's really, really true. It's really true. They all have different requirements and shapes and uses. And do you want to say more about what you think is the particular phenomenological map of DXM and how to approach it, how to use it?
Well, it's hard to say anything about that because it's a fair question, but it's really abstract.
That's true.
Especially since DXM for me isn't very cognitive. There's not a lot of like cognitive, like concrete stuff to say other than the stuff I said before, which was what I was working on. Its use is similar to ketamine, somewhat similar to salvia, where you're really working on your mind in a pre-cognitive level. There'll be words, there'll be some words, but a lot of it is very pre-cognitive, pre-words.
Yeah.
And I found that I could close my eyes, meditate into it, except that I can't move well, and meditate into it. And then, like I said, I could see this tunnel. I would almost go into that tunnel, kind of, which was like going into my own mind, my own psyche, kind of, and doing work there, just like I would do on ketamine or salvia.
Okay. Yeah, okay, cool, yeah. But then, you bring up the interesting point of you have to learn how to approach it, how to use it.
And we talk about learning drugs, and mostly people are like, well, learn, dosing and stuff like that. And but that's the stuff that you're learning before you're on the drug. Once you're on the drug, you still have to figure out how to build the relationship.
And that, I guess you put it maybe better than I ever have. That I really get excited about and think is the most crucial thing in this entire endeavor, especially when you have, on one hand, like fully recreational use, and on the other hand, fully medicalized use that seeks to undermine the altered perception and just go for like a lingering effect. So when you're inside that space with that particular chemical, how to have a relationship to it is literally the entire thing, because that's when you learn you have to be this or think this way or let go of this fear or surrender over here or learn how to trust, or this one brings you images, or this one is more emotional, and now you're dealing with your own stuff. And why are you trying to heal? Are you forgiving? Now you're just in infinite possibilities once you're relating to the drug. If you're using it, right, and not letting it guide. It's good to start to have those experiences, but it's not the potential of this world. It's not the potential. So anyway, I like that you said that, Chris. I think that's the whole thing, and really the most esoteric and kind of hardest to get. I'll be honest, I've done a lot of study in a lot of dimensions of psychedelics, and people write very eloquently, even poetically, of their experiences, but how to use drugs, like you're saying, inside the drug, that I've never found much written on, and I have a lot of thoughts on it, and I really think there's a whole map. Now, when you start looking at the various uses and the various ways to do them and to learn how to navigate and, master your own mind and body and energy, but then lots of kind of realms pop up that then you are starting to relate to, like realms of mind body primarily, as opposed to the drugs primarily, right? Now you're using them as vehicles to go into different aspects of the nature of experience and reality and self and whatnot, and those aspects become the focus of the work, at least in this domain. Go have fun and have fun at a party, but just in this particular domain. So Do you want to talk about some of those? This is kind of what I've been working on this week.
Sure, give me one example.
Well, let me look at my list. Well, one example is nitrous. So we already talked about that, and I wrote nitrous. Prayer, offering, direct experience, surrender. So nitrous is very short and very intense, which means you're probably going to be, and again, we're focused on the overall work this allows you to do, right? So we're looking at drugs a little differently. The feelings, anyway. So you're probably going to want to sit or lie down because of the intensity, and it's so short. You have to go in already prepared, right? If you were going to, and I'm not saying this isn't a real analogy, but if you were going to get to hang out with Jesus for 1 minute, and that was it, you better be, you better think about that moment for a good long time to decide exactly what you want to do.
Yeah,
and
it's sort of like you always see the genie thing, and whenever there's some fiction, show or something where you get the 3 wishes, it's just this cliche that they always waste their first, maybe even first 2.
Yeah.
Like every genie show has the inevitable. They waste their first. They waste their first wish.
Right, and it's kind of like that because we don't always have intentions that are that. Like, what's the word? That's salient, right? I mean, we do. We just, you go into a bank, your intention is to get, some of your savings or whatever. Like, that's very, very particular. So I'm not saying that you can't just have a more general intention. The point is that you have some intention overall for what you're doing this for and why, the best that you could conceive of the domain that defines the area that you can have intentions within, meaning, are these creative type things, or are they spiritual or emotional or curiosity? Are you looking for a voice to talk to you? Are you trying to figure it out? Right? It's more meta kind of cognitive or somatic or non-mind thing. So nitrous is very short, it's tense, you can go far, but you don't have much time. So what does that mean? So I thought of things that were short and specific, so I wrote down prayer, offering, direct experience, and surrender. So you're going to do a 1-minute prayer, full body, fully immersed in the feeling of the universe, prayer, offering, or direct experience. What might that be? If you're thinking about an idea, but you need to really get in your body and feel what those ideas feel like, and maybe gain insight, or maybe you're having direct experience of your own self and how you feel, something like that. And then surrender, because it's intense, it forces you to let go, which means, what are you letting go into? Is it somebody you're letting go into? What's the intention of that thing, right? What's the nature of, if you surrender, then what's the universe made out of at that point?
Okay.
You kind of need, if you have that notion, if you have that those metaphysics, then you can surrender into God's love, or surrender into the Divine Mother, or surrender into non-duality.
Are you still talking about nitrous?
Yeah, these are the things I think nitrous is good for. Surrender applies to lots of things, but I'm still talking about nitrous. So if you just want to practice surrender, suck in a big nitrous balloon and surrender to whatever it is you're working on surrendering to, and you'll have a couple minutes to fully practice, and then you're back, and that's it. Or you go in and you make a prayer. Anyway, does that make sense?
Yeah. Although
Yeah.
this is a little speculative since you've only done it once.
It is a little speculative, but mind you, I've been doing lots of things for lots of decades, so I'm not totally making this up. But I'll have more refined reports later. One way or the other, though, that model of how long it lasts and what it does and how to use it applies to all the chemicals, and I kind of wrote one for each. So that the speculative nature to me is like a kind of a meta structure that I'm starting to look at with drugs. I mean, you know it's short and intense, so you make of that what you will, but that's very different than takes 3 hours to come on and last, an entire day, right? That's an entirely different kind of tool. So yeah, it's got to mean something.
Well, let's so what Jeremy is talking about is he likes to analyze and sort of catalog how to use different substances. So let's go to one that you know well. Your favorite is cannabis. So what's cannabis for?
All right. So I wrote insight and creative organizing. So for me, and again, this is my Jeremy Kern's metaphysics, right? I'm not defining this for everybody, but I am trying to share the notion of doing this kind of analysis on drugs because I think it's really useful and helps us use them more effectively. So for me, whenever I do cannabis, I've always known that cannabis can take any shape. Experiential. You can get excited, you can relax, you can zone out on something, you can get totally fixated on something and work forever. Hyper detail. If you don't have intention, you oftentimes, and even with intention, sometimes you can get paranoid and just kind of feel weird and kind of exposed, which I think is a problem of not showing up with enough. If you get on stage to do a show and you have nothing to perform, you'd feel the same way. So for me, cannabis requires content. I usually walk around and I use it when I have like you, Chris, I'm always working on any number of intellectual things, real life things, kind of creative outlets, questions of life direction and purpose, my own, relationship or emotional life, right? There's all these, and sometimes they all interact. So I always have a lot of content. When I smoke cannabis, I'm usually smoking it with the intention to basically fixate on my own internal content. And when I do, I start seeing patterns of how to improve things usually, or what things mean. And when I notice those patterns, then those patterns tend to turn into lists of here's my priorities, or, here's an idea of how to, here's a creative insight into this project, or how to, create this meditation to have this effect. I start putting pieces together, which I call creative metaphysics. And I start inventing reality, basically, like you do when you're an artist. I'm inventing reality, I'm inventing consciousness, I'm inventing methods of going into different altered states and figuring myself out. So to me, cannabis is very content-oriented, very cognitive. I'm not saying this is the best way to use it, but this is something that I think it's for, in the way I use it. Creative insight. Oftentimes, my insight is often built in. My intention's often built in now, which is I'm either going to think about all my stuff and then kind of figure out whatever I need to figure out, or I'm going to clear my mind, but have the intention that everything that's happening in my life, inside me and externally to me, all of that is present, but that the cannabis can kind of below the surface kind of sort it out and start throwing different insights at me. And so I kind of smoke and I look at the ground and I just walk, and at some point I'll be like, oh wow, that's interesting. If you do this and you do that, and then from there it just kind of goes. Once in a while that won't happen. It's pretty rare, so I might listen to an interesting book, or I might have to really take charge and be like, okay, what am I trying to get out of this? What are my questions? Is there something I'm trying to figure out in life? So it's very engaged like that. I think it's very flexible. So whatever it is you want to use it for, it'll go there. I find that to be unusual for drugs. Maybe alcohol does that too, and some of the similar kind of not super psychedelic ones, but cannabis for me is, it can turn any color, any shape, it can go anywhere, but it needs direction. And sometimes it'll lead, and sometimes I have to lead, especially on the backside of the trip. I'll still be able to like keep myself in a creative space, but I'll have to be more kind of bossy and like I'm doing, like you're actually practicing, right? You have to be like, okay, I gotta do my scales, or so I keep kind of looking for ways to stay creative. So that's my cannabis report. And I would say the point of this is somebody saying, I want to learn about drugs and what they do. Using those two as an example, I would say, okay, well, if you find in your life you have a lot of content, there's so many things going on, maybe all those things feel like they're at odds, or you're not quite sure how it all fits together. Cannabis might be very useful to either A, get yourself into a space where none of that matters and you just feel you kind of just go into a trance, to stare at a tree, not realize 10 minutes has gone by, and you can experience your mind without all that content. Or you can kind of put all that content on the table and say, okay, help me figure this out. And then, and like you said, Chris, it's a dance, right? You can't go in demanding anything, but you can't just say, figure it out for me. You kind of have to push here and then rest here and then listen for an answer over here, right? It's the surrender, the quality of surrender with cannabis, I find, is very multifaceted. It's like dancing. That's the best. You're surrendering to the dance, but any dancer knows probably better than me, not being one, that, you're leading here and you're feeling your partner there. There's all these many kind of adjustments going on all the time. And that dance creates a bigger thing. It creates a dance, a show, an experience, a quality, So this type of surrender with cannabis is like a dance, and you have to learn how. And it's really a practice. It took me a while. It actually took me years where I really intentionally would just get paranoid. But for whatever reason, I was pretty young. Yeah, I was smoking, I'd get paranoid. And I was like, motherfucker, if I'm paranoid, that's my fault. It's not this drug's fault. It's showing me that I'm already paranoid and I got to figure my shit out. And that lasted years. That lasted years. And then finally I started having fun. But it's a real, it really kind of exposes stuff. And, I think the tendency to get the munchies or to zone out could be a bit of a survival mechanism, right? It makes us kind of zony, but at the same time, I don't know, if you're staying aware, you feel lots of feelings and you think lots of thoughts. So anyway, that's my report there. Nitrous, this quality of surrender for nitrous would be more like, a salvia or a DXM or a ketamine or a DMT. You're really giving yourself over and you're really learning how to let go of normal mental operation and stay in some kind of awareness in your own consciousness in a different way. That's not about thinking or language or words. And the ability to do that is very central to lots of meditative practices and whatnot. So the surrender, so maybe those are qualities, right? I'm kind of building this, but each drug has its own quality of surrender, its own quality of how you move with it. I find traditional psychedelics, the long ones, and I don't think they're all the same, but that's the kind of like, you're going to be on a trip for 12 hours. So you're going to surrender in that way, right? You're going to let it really guide you because it's such a powerful force. So those are two. Should I keep going, or do you want to change
actually,
topics?
I was going to say, we've talked about this for a long time. Maybe we should make a final idea about whether or not you're going to do some nitrous on camera.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
What's your vision, or do you have a vision? We could turn my music on, and you could have music if you want. And what, it's like a couple of minutes, right? Honestly, it's just you sitting and doing nitrous, and I can play some music. Either you can have access to it or not. Would be a fine little show, and then you'll talk about it afterward, or talk about it if you feel like. Talk about it while you're high.
Yeah. All right. Let's do that. Let me get organized here. I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna sit. I'm gonna find a place to sit.
I'm doing drugs too. I've got a big cup of kava.
Okay, nice.
Not quite as dramatic as what you're doing, and I will celebrate by changing sounds.
All right, cool. I think I'll stay in the silent audio feed.
Let's try this one. I've got these sounds, and I know I like them, but I don't have them memorized as to what they actually are.
Okay,
while you're setting up, I do have musical news.
Okay.
This is the first time I can tell everybody is making a really big deal about it, that I have not played in C at all today.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, man.
And I've moved around with a lot of black notes.
That's meaningful too.
And along those lines, I started 2.5 years ago. I decided I wanted to learn some piano because I thought it'd be good for my musicianship. Because I'm naturally a trumpet player and also a computer musician, but harmony has never come easily to me, even though I'm interested intellectually in harmony. And I figured, well, just playing some piano will help. So I had challenged myself. I said, I'll just practice for 50 hours and see, how much 50 hours on piano can help my piano chops and ultimately help my musicianship. Well, a couple of days ago, 2.5 years ago, a couple of days ago, I reached the threshold of 500 hours.
Wow, no kidding.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep, I have averaged a little over 30 hours 30 minutes a day over 2.5 years. And
wow, cool.
And now this C-board, this funny electronic music instrument, is my main axe. I do play trumpet sometimes, but not a lot. And I haven't been doing much programming either lately. And I'm going to play a show. I'm going to play a psychedelic ceremony on this instrument that you guys are hearing right now on Saturday.
Oh, is this one of your meetups?
Well, this is the first ever official ceremony for the as yet still not even named Post-Silo Temple Church that I'm part of. And I'm going to be doing music. I'm kind of the only musician there that can do this stuff. I'm also going to be giving a sermon because I'm the only one who does that.
Right on, man. Fucking A.
I do have somebody else taking care of the medicine, though. It's going really well. I've got people are volunteering. They don't even know necessarily, aren't comfortable. But I've got one woman who wanted to take a responsibility for actually making the mushroom tea. She's never done it before, but she took it on. I don't have to do it, and that's how you build community.
Cool. That's awesome.
I don't like the sound, by the way. It's fucking cheesy. Let's find something better. I'm going to unstar you, Symphonic Cluster. You were a disappointment.
All right, I'm ready. I'll wait till you're ready.
Ooh.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, baby.
Okay. So, these are...
Don't forget just to announce what you're doing.
Right, so I'm gonna use nitrous. It's a very short-acting drug. I guess anything you call a drug, it's a drug. I've only done it once, and I guess first I'll just kind of show what's going on here, and then I'll kind of talk about my intention, which I need to do so that I can actually give a good trip report at the end. These nitrous is apparently no longer, but well, actually no, I guess that's not true, but it's a laughing gas at the dentist, and it's also the gas used to turn whipped cream into whipped cream if you don't want to actually blend it. This is right, and you have a sprayer. So
I used to use that stuff in when I was a barista all the time. Every coffee shop has those.
yeah, right. So it's these little metal containers. You should recycle them. And I don't know much about it. This is only my second time, but they're illegal. You can buy them on Amazon. And the way it works, since it's a gas, is you put it in this little thing. You can't really see it, but inside this part, there's like a needle that punctures this. And I got a shitty one, so it might take me a second to actually open this thing. So you stick it in. You stick in the cracker, it's called, I'm pretty sure. Canister in the cracker. And now you like cinch down on it. But first you put a balloon on. Oh, actually I missed a piece. Hold on. And again, the stuff's legal, but like anything, just treat everything with respect. Treat yourself with respect, your environment with respect. Don't litter these things. For whatever reason, this is the first time I've ever taken a drug that was a gas. So inhaling it's kind of a new experience as far as, not cannabis, but a big balloon like this. So just, you're doing drugs, be smart, know what you're doing. Okay, so I have this clip here in case I don't use it all. I can clip the balloon and save some. So I'll just take as much as I can, and I'll probably just sit here for a minute. And then my intention, I guess, is a couple-fold. One, I'm still getting to know the territory and the way this stuff works. And so I'm not exactly sure what to intend, because I don't totally know how it works. I do know it comes over you, and I'm going to choose to sit up instead of lay down, because I didn't like laying down last time for whatever reason. And I think my main intent is just to stay aware. I've noticed this on ketamine. Your whole body can go to sleep. And I don't know if this will make sense, but a lot of times I'll keep an energy in my eyes, it feels like, or the rest of me is going to sleep. It's like my eyes are staring into empty space, but it's not empty space. It's just the act of keeping the part of my brain perhaps really awake that attaches to the eyes, gives a certain kind of awareness or awakeness to the trip, and I can be more aware of me. It's like a lucid dream, I guess. So that's what I do on ketamine. I think that's just what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to try to maintain as much awareness as I can, and then kind of see if there's any information to give, because I'm still learning about this. So we'll tighten this down. When it comes out, it gets really cold. So you kind of want to make sure you don't burn yourself. And I'll see how long it takes, because last time it took me a while to get these things open. Here we go.
Oh, the mechanical part takes a while.
There we go. All right, I think this cracker isn't very good, so all right. So we got what we can get. All right.
Uh-oh. I think I just crashed my synthesizer. Come on, baby. Don't crash on me.
Okay, I'm gonna cut that one short. I need to get a bag because that balloon didn't work. So give me 30 seconds.
Or you're going to use a bag instead. Back to the kava. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Boy, this stream took like forever to build up any audience at all, but we've got some homies now. Although, frankly, it took me and both of me and Jeremy are going through a lot right now, both of us individually. So, frankly, if you weren't here in the beginning, you probably didn't miss much. It really took us some time. I know it took me some time to get in the psychedelic mood.
Okay, sorry, give me one sec. Okay, let's do this again.
Let's do it.
I really want to try to push the thresholds of this stuff, or push the boundaries of this stuff. So I got a bag and a straw. So I think that's the way to do it, because the cracker doesn't seal, so all the gas in the balloon pushes back out the cracker. It's kind of a shitty design. Okay, but that's what you get for $10, I guess. All right, let's do this again. Oh my god. Sorry, I need one more thing. Okay, thanks for bearing with me here. Okay. Get this cracker, put it in this bag, get it all tightened up.
Oh no!
I guess just
I went to C. Sorry, I was in D minor. It was practically C. It was just right there. I'll get out though.
Okay, here we go. Get rid of this first one. Get another one.
You know, it's funny. We're talking while I'm playing. You don't hear what what I'm playing. But we've done that before. Jeremy he doesn't do this so much anymore, but he's an excellent piano player, and he would do these like corporate gigs, playing like covers and stuff. And he knew the music so well and was so bored and hated the gig so much, or whatever. I don't know if he'd say that, but he would like call me during his gigs sometimes, and we would like talk while he's playing piano on.
Yeah, I showed you. I showed you the stage I was on.
That's right. You took some pictures during your show from the stage and sent it to me.
I completely missed like the synth hook too. Everybody looked at me. It was hilarious. Okay, so I'm going to use a bag, so there's no backwards pressure on this, and then let's try this again.
Okay, back to we're gonna get high on nitrous. It's supposed to work.
There we go. Okay, hold on. Yeah, it'll work. No, I felt it the last time. I just wanted to see if I can go all the way. All right, now we're getting more. That's what we want. I think that's all we got. All right. Nitrous can be abused, right? There's the nitrous mafia and whatnot.
Oh, really?
Don't be stupid. Yeah. Don't abuse anything. If you're hooking yourself up to a massive tank first of all, that's probably a problem. And if you don't have any oxygen, then that's just super dangerous. So I would figure one lungful with no oxygen is okay. We need air. Okay, here we go. Goodbye.
Are we going?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay. I'm still kind of in it a little bit, but it's definitely on the backside.
Really? That was not very long.
There's a particular threshold that I was pushing for that I knew was there. And I used to do yoga, and there's a practice that I used to do, and it's a Tibetan practice where you fill your lungs with air and hold it, and then you move your body around. And I noticed that a couple of times I did this, there's a certain position that I would be in where I would get this super oxygenated rush. And it was so intense, I would usually fall over, or if I was sitting, I would kind of like drop over, and I would go into a completely non-dual state, completely forget my own identity,
Really?
have this really intense reset experience. Like I literally don't know, there's no knowing who I am, where I am. It's not scary like that because I feel very comfortable in my body, but my mind is completely blown out and is now just kind of like rebooting and loading the system and whatnot. And I would do this practice for this effect because it always felt really good. And afterwards, I felt really cleared out and really like, okay. Maybe for some people it's crying, or for some people it's yelling, or what. All of a sudden you're like, you got it all out, and now you feel completely empty, and you can like kind of start over. And I really like this sensation. It's the same sensation I get on the nitrous.
Really? This sounds a lot like salvia, honestly.
Yeah, I may have a very different experience of salvia than you, but I would put him in a similar kind of overwhelming category. Anyway, so I would say for that use, um, I guess I would modify my statement earlier. It's very short acting, it's very intense. Prayer, yeah, I you could do stuff, but it's hard to have intentions because it blows you out of your form so intensely. It's hard to
Ah,
hold on to anything. What I did is kind of hold on to, like, find my center, my breath, or my like sense of awareness in my eyes, but everything else was like paisley and like just not a lot of visuals, but just kind of, it reminds me honestly a little bit of 5-MeO DMT, but much shorter acting and not as intense. But it's just kind of a big whiteout. It just, everything just kind of blows into its most fundamental state of matter, and then you kind of coalesce on the other side and feel refreshed. So I don't know how specific you can be with holding content and direction. It might be too deep for that, but
or if you had to,
yeah,
you could use a smaller dose, right? If you needed to anchor
yes,
more.
yes. Or you could, yeah, if you use a smaller dose, then it'll just kind of give you a big body rush, and you can use that in some way. So I like it. I think it's useful. For now, I might kind of stick with this investigation of, okay, what does reset really mean? And when you're really reset, what's going on? How is that useful? Because again, you saw it's 1 minute, it's 2 minutes, it's almost, you have to be really disciplined, I would say, to know what to expect, to go all the way. If you're trying to go all the way with this stuff, you have to be able to get there like in 5 seconds and be so efficient that you got there before the window closes after like 45 seconds. You can sit in the experience for a while, but that window into like everything is very, very, very short. But I think it's cool, man. So you use it and stacked with something else, or you just decide you're going to take 2 minutes of your day to have an intense psychedelic trip, and it's literally gone. Like it's a gas, right? So there's no hangover, there's no effect. Yeah, you do a lot, you'll feel it. But anyways, that's I think this stuff is really useful. So that's my report.
Let me interject a little bit. And first of all, somebody, so you might mention this, asked about the meditative practice. Uh, I think that's what he's asking about. Preston, if you said the Tibetan practice, did he say it was Tibetan? But I,
Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah. He asked. Well, he specifically said, "Can anybody do that?" But you could maybe tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and then maybe we'll talk about the nitrous too. It's so funny, but drugs are like this. Like, well, let me. You don't seem like you've had this big dramatic experience. Like I was playing, and then you came back and you said, "Hey," and I was like, "Whoa! Oh, did you already do it?" So was that like you were really high just now, right?
Yeah, yeah, for a short, yeah, I was.
Isn't that weird? Just on this side, it's like, dude, whatever. I remember 20 years ago when you brought Salvia to rehearsal, and you sat, and I didn't know what it was, and he sat in the corner. This is when we first met, and he brought Salvia to rehearsal, and he went over. He said, this stuff is psychedelic. I'm gonna go take some." And then he came back five minutes later and said, "Wow, that was quite a psychedelic journey." And I was like, "You." I haven't. I said I was going to go to the bathroom while you were tripping, and I haven't even gone yet. So anyway, I got distracted. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about the Tibetan meditation you were doing?
Well, I wasn't doing it there. Let's see, there's a meditation called, I've had a little experience with it. There's a system of kind of yogic practices called the Five Tibetans. Now, I don't know who named it or what it has to do with any kind of traditional lineage, but so be it. And there's a number of things. I could be missing lots of details. So, but what I remember from my limited experience is you hold your breath, and then you circle your head, you circle your chest, you circle your hips, you move the air through your body, you move the energy of the air, or you move the oxygenation or the blood flow or whatever holding your breath is doing lots of things. You move that through your body, and it clears channels, and it lubricates your joints, and it just keeps you healthy. So it's a physical exercise that then had this kind of mystical application, because especially around the chest area, there's something about having pressure maybe against the heart that gave me this incredible head rush. And I would all of a sudden, I would only know what was going on when I was coming back. It was so fast and so intense. I only realized, 20 seconds later that I had been totally gone and I don't know where I was.
Wow.
And I would always feel really warm and really like kind of comfortable in my body. My body would sometimes be shaking a little bit, but I would feel like completely just rinsed out and washed out and really, really good. Now, I don't know how to connect that to the 5 Tibetans, but if you're a yogi and you know how energy runs in the various channels, then you can accomplish kind of anything. So
You there? Oh, whoa, what happened? I lost Jeremy. Oops. We'll see if he comes back. Yeah, so since he's gone, I'll just go talk about the salvia basics. Not feeling it at first is 100% normal. I felt it a little, but I did not feel what salvia could really do for probably my first 5 times, maybe.
hey, sorry.
And then here, I'm talking about salvia. I'm asking the dude.
All right, you guys got me.
Question. I'm glad you came back. So yeah, not feeling is not. And then here's the mistake that people make, because they didn't feel it their first time. They like quadruple the dose and just go for it, and then they fuck themselves up.
Right.
So you just want, one way or another, you want to slowly ramp up. It's there, and it can be your friend, but you don't want to go overboard. Not till later, or maybe never at all.
Yeah.
Oh, and as far as holding the breath goes, that's another. I mentioned earlier, you probably weren't here, that I want to do a video about busting salvia myths. One of them is that you need a torch lighter. It's not true. One of them is that you need a bong instead of a pipe. Okay. And then the other one is that you have to hold it in for a long time. I don't advocate holding it in more than 5 seconds at most, because all you're doing at that point is just stressing yourself out. And the last thing you want is for your body to be stressing out when you're about to get high as fuck.
Yeah, no, that's true. Anybody who says they know the exact way to do it probably is just wanting to sound smart.
Uh-oh.
Like us.
Yeah.
No, I mean, anyway, there's never one way. Okay, so that's what I know about that exercise. It's you're really like running energy through your system, through your energy channels. That makes any sense to you if you studied chakras or you have experience, you know what that means. So yeah, salvia, nitrous is like that. I don't know what else to say. I could see using it if I'm really stressed. I could see using it as like an intense 1-minute meditation where I come back and I'm like, okay, everything's fine. Now I can think again. Doing it just then after a really busy couple days kind of had that effect. Like slowly my mind is getting back to that. But I feel clear-headed. I think there's nothing left. There's nothing. It's such a simple molecule that it gets broken down right away, and nothing is left in your system. There's no trace of it. It just
Nitrous, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, what you said. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about that. That was really cool, by the way. We should do stuff like that more often.
Sure.
Especially, like, even though you're just sitting there, but since I'm playing music, like, it's a pretty cool show, I think.
Yeah.
What's interesting is just how what you're describing is nothing like what I remember. But I think a lot of it probably has to do with who I was at the time, you know, and I was not as experienced. I'm talking about when I was in my early 20s. I'm about to turn 48 in 2 days. And I mean, I was a psycho, not interested in being a psychonaut. You know, I was the kind of 21-year-old that eventually becomes a real psychonaut, but I wasn't there yet. And I remember just thinking, I did think nitrous was fun, but I thought of it as kind of like just brainless fun. It was like a keg stand. I always said that it made me feel like my brain was going to explode.
Well, at the risk of beating a dead horse, I suppose it's more the intention, the set and setting, than the actual, well, chemical in a lot of situations. So, where I'm guessing also that at the time you were being pretty casual about it.
Well, yeah, I was like, very casual. I mean, like, I was a deep guy, you know. I was like studying philosophy and shit, but yeah, I was not. I had not developed a rigorousness to drug use yet. Drug use was not rigorous yet. I remember one time when I was literally at a hippie festival that was literally called the Hemp Fest.
Okay, nice. That's I mean, more case in point, you know, if anything. I mean, honestly, I don't know if this is like fair to say or even that's intelligent, but I guess if everybody used alcohol really, really intentionally, whether it's fun or growth, then, you know, that would be different anyway than is often used.
I don't think that's a stretch at all.
Everything's a drug, you know, caffeine, it's all, you know, it's all a thing.
Yeah, the drug that your baby, cannabis, is the one that I, tend to question my own use of. I'm not so well, though. At the same time, I don't know. I'm not a fucked up. I've been thinking about this because I'm on a Reddit page that is for people who have quit weed. So, but what I realized is that people who really have a weed problem are doing 10 times or more as much as me.
Yeah.
I saw a thread. People almost like people who've quit weed, talking about how much they used to smoke when they were an addict, you know? And there's people saying that they smoke multiple ounces a week.
Yeah, I believe it.
The people saying, you know, that they're doing edibles at the same time. And they're taking several hundred milligrams a day.
Holy shit. Yeah, it's incredible the amount that people can use and not have their body completely break down. Although to your point, Chris, I would guess at the end of it, what you're always looking at is, you know, these are my words, but I don't say they're not your words. You're looking at intention and kind of, I don't know, planning. There's nothing wrong with like smoking a joint or drinking a beer and enjoying a sunset and just chilling. Like that's a really good and healthy thing.
Yeah.
I do find though that if you're trying to do normal life or you're like wholesale checking out because you're tired enough that you don't want to have to do anything at all and almost don't even have enough energy to enjoy, you're just kind of like zoning, then I don't know. Then that to me is kind of where the effect can be lost, or maybe it can kind of get, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't think that's really the problem, but in what you're saying, to me, that's what I'm hearing. Like, oh, it's more about, you know, where's this going ultimately, or what's it for?
Preston, the main person we're talking to is Preston. I'm not sure we've ever met him before. He's
What's up,
21
Preston?
and says that he's done nitrous. Oh, not nitrous. That's why it's interesting. But salvia, LSD, and shrooms and weed. That is a good place to begin. I'll say that. What about alcohol?
Yeah, we should caffeine.
One thing is that, I wish, and actually Jeremy had this more than I did, is that I wish I had had real training when I was 21. Because when I was 21, there was two roads. Either you were a good person who didn't use drugs other than alcohol, or you were a bad person who was just taking crazy risks. Today, people have a lot more information, which is cool.
Yeah, man, it's the revolution in a lot of ways. I yeah, I mean, no, he was training. I was never rebellious. It's also the thing. So I smoked weed with friends. I tried mushrooms a couple times, but I was pretty intentional about it because I'm just not wild enough to be otherwise. And so I wasn't willing to just be like, fuck it. And,
I was.
yeah, you were. Yeah, I was too. So it was always a big, so yeah, and then I did have a mentor teacher that made available to me a number of things and led me through them. And one of those, there's one final major medicine that I have in the wings, and I'm hoping it'll come through in the next month. But that's the 5-MeO version of DMT, which is interesting. DMT is the main molecule for all the tryptamines. 4-HO DMT is psilocin that is in mushrooms.
Really?
Yeah, that's the
Okay,
chemical
I didn't know
name
that.
for psilocin, 4-HO. And then 5-HO DMT, which is where you take there's a ring, right? And 4-HO, the chemical's over there, and 5-HO, it's over there. It's a tiny change, but that's bufotenine, which is I suppose a variant of 5-MeO that's doesn't sound as pleasant. And then 5-MeO is something. Anyway, so those are kind of the categories, but I'm excited to try that. To me, it's one of the heaviest hitters, and it's hard to get, so we'll see what happens.
I just went to a psychedelic conference in Eugene, Oregon. Really good. It was quite interesting. And there was somebody there who's like a vendor there who does plants or whatever, medicine plants, and he was giving out cuttings of, I don't remember the name of the plant, but he was giving out cuttings of this plant that has 5-MeO in it. So and then I got one and I planted it. I don't know I don't even off the top of my, I did write down the name of the plant, so I'll look it up later, but I couldn't say anything about it, but hey, I've got it.
Is it Phalaris grass?
No, I literally don't remember. I don't know.
Does it look like a grass?
No, it doesn't look like a grass. It's kind of, here, hold on. See, this is what I'm saying. I only have a keyboard today. Ordinarily, if I had all my gear, I would never walk away without music going because I would lay down a loop or a sequence and it would go for me. But I can't do that today. Oh, let's see. Well, okay. Well, Jeremy can see it. Our video is all in black and white today.
Yeah.
But,
Okay, cool.
on the video, it looks evil.
All right. Yeah, kind of.
Supposedly it's got 5-MeO in it.
Okay, cool.
Yep, I have. Oh wait, you have done it though a long time ago.
I believe that is one of the first. Let's see. I think first, you want to hear the story of what Joel did with me? First,
yeah, I'll have to go pee soon, but I think I've heard it anyway.
First, we did snuff. You know,
Oh, you
snuff.
talk
It's
about
like
the whole
powdered
thing.
tobacco. Yeah, well, I mean, that's it. And then next we did salvia. Started off with a very low concentration and then ramped up. And then I believe we did 5-MeO DMT, which I didn't know. Well, he probably told me at the time, but I didn't retain it. But I remember the same taste, but a very, very different effect than DMT. DMT is this fucking crazy carnival, man, and 5-MeO is very mystical and like just like an infinite white space. That's my experience. And then we did other things, ketamine and whatnot. But yeah, I think that was my first kind of deep psychedelic, short acting. If somebody was learning for the first time, if you get something that's short acting, maybe not that, but something like salvia or even nitrous, then you kind of get the lay of the land of what it means to have altered consciousness. We do it when we sleep, but it takes some getting used to even know how to operate when you're not in ordinary operation. Like we said before, how to guide it, how to let go, how to listen for guidance, how to kind of have intention, but hold it, but not too tight. So anyway, short acting is good. I would say that's a good place to start. So yeah, those are all the things we did, and that's how it went down. You missed it.
I've heard it before.
Huh.
I indeed have definitely heard it before.
Yeah, I was suggesting if people are new to altered consciousness and doing short acting medicines is a good way to start, right? Because you get to kind of figure out how it all works, but you only have to do it for, 1 minute to half an hour. So,
Oh, what I was saying, Preston asked for me to expand. I might have gotten distracted. So when we were 21, not so much Jeremy, but for me, because I didn't have a Joel, I was just a crazy risk taker. And I did acid for the first time when I was 17, and all I had heard about it is this shit is crazy, and maybe you shouldn't do it. So I did it. That's all I knew about it.
Yep, that's Chris.
And like the two paths were basically don't do drugs. Drugs are bad. That's my mom's point of view, and a lot
Or
of
do it
people's
in
point of
jazz
view.
band.
What?
Or do it at jazz band. The logical
Or
second
do it at
conclusion.
jazz band. Yeah, there's a video where I tell a story about when I did acid for the first time in jazz band in high school. I played poorly. Not my best day, to tell you the truth. But the point is that we didn't have the internet. We certainly didn't have shaman. We didn't have people like Joel that, well, I guess Jeremy had Joel, but not many people had something like that. We didn't have channels like this or podcasts like this. And so it was a lot easier to make mistakes. I think some people who are like in public policy, they assume that it's still like that, but you meet younger people now, and I have been hanging out with this transgender young woman named Aura. She's super cool, and she's been flirting with trying salvia, and she came to me. We did like a one-on-one, and we've hung out several times, and I'm a little bit embarrassed. On the technical side, she knows more about salvia than I do. She's never even smoked it. But when it comes to research, she fucking means it and really researches this shit. And I research stuff too, but honestly, these days, my knowledge on the technical medical side is like average. Everybody fucking knows. There was a day when we didn't all know what a serotonin receptor was. You remember that?
Yeah, that's true.
And it was only like 5 years ago.
There was a day. Yeah. Oh, that was you?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I got distracted.
Yeah.
But we should probably end it soon. This has gone well. We ended. Yeah, it was funny. We at the beginning we didn't have any audience at all, which, like I said, I think is fine because I know I wasn't feeling it. And Jeremy was like on his email, so maybe it was good we didn't have anybody. But yeah, we've ended up having a little audience and a whole bunch of conversation, especially with Preston, but with some other people too. Gaia, the Sage, and Hayes hasn't been here, our boy, but still chilling, and there's a bunch of X's in that name. Anyway, I guess I'm not saying that we need to finish up right now, but probably pretty soon. It's been a couple hours. Is there anything in particular you wanted to talk about, or do you feel like you've expressed yourself on nitrous?
Yeah, I feel like we kind of talked about everything. Yeah, we're both, working on all this stuff, and so be it. I'm gonna try combine. I think nitrous would combine well with something else. I think if there's any way to lengthen it, then that's kind of the jam. And I don't know the safety of mixing it with other things, but
I don't know. But I have heard, you look on Reddit and people ask, well, like, what's your favorite drug combination? And people talk about combining things with nitrous a lot.
Oh,
that is something that people do and they like.
It would be, I think stacking it would work well. And again, just from my couple times doing it in memory, I would most liken it to 5-MeO DMT. I haven't done it in 20 years, but I do remember my experience well, and this to me comes closest. It's such a fast rush, and it just kicks you out, and then you kind of figure out what's what on your way back, which has kind of particular mystical significance. There's a I'm blanking on this book. Maybe it's just called the psychedelic experience. Anyway, there's a rewrite of the Tibetan Book of the Dead where you go through different layers of reality, and that's what happens on psychedelics. Your consciousness will depending on how deep you go, and then you kind of come back.
Are you talking about the one Timothy Leary wrote?
Yeah, maybe it's his. I'm blanking.
I know he wrote an interpretation or whatever of like psychedelic book of the Tibetan Book of the Dead.
Yeah, exactly. So that's anyway. That to me is kind of what it's about. You go all the way out, and then as you come back, you can see how the nature of reality is constructed. Right. First, there's just white, and then there's an awareness of white. And then there's some kind of self-awareness, and then there's awareness of you, and then you start remembering data. It like fills in. It's like it gets denser, right? But the idea is you're experiencing all levels of reality, but you just can't stay wherever you land is where you have to live because you're a body and you're that particular quality of consciousness. But you can, if you practice, like the yogis, then you can sustain awareness at higher states or deeper or less.
Do you find
more non-dual states?
I know the answer for me. Do you find that your psychedelic experiences inform your sober meditative, if you ever meditate sober? Yes. To me, consciousness is one thing. And so I will kind of use all the various states, dream states, sober trance states, drug states. I kind of use all of them to create a bigger model of reality. Yeah. I find now that I have figured out how, it's not the same as actually being high, but I have figured out how to separate myself while sober from like reality kind of.
Oh, yeah.
I just, you have to focus and kind of know where you're going, to where the usual mundane world, like your name, right? I'll even play games. Like I'll play games with myself in meditation, where I'll be like, okay, don't remember your name. Don't remember your name. I'll play these
Yeah.
games, like, and then of course, how easy is it for me to find my name? Is just right there, right? But if you focus, you can avoid going and getting it, right?
Yes, totally. Yeah, that's another way of describing what I was describing earlier.
With the
Now,
nitrous.
yeah, now if you take something and it does it for you, you go so far out you can't remember anything, then the game is how long can you stay out there? How much can you let your mind just be expansive before it starts doing its calculations again?
Yeah.
But what Chris is saying is you can do that intentionally as well. So, so yeah, that's what I'm saying is I really think it's one of the, I don't know, on my list of psychedelics, there was a couple that I called the big work, and ketamine and, let me see, ketamine and 5-MeO were two of them. And let's see, big work, 5-MeO, big work, mescaline is big work. Yeah, and ketamine I think is big work. They're just so immersive and so big. Anyway, that's what I'm calling the big work. Anyway, so well, cool, fun chatting about this stuff. I guess at the end, that's part of it, right? If you can consciously let go of all discursive thoughts and data organization and get yourself into a meditative state where there's just oneness, the only thing special about that is the fact that you can do it and the fact that it's different than other states, right? It's not your path necessarily to God or enlightenment or salvation or anything. It's just a potential of the human mind and the human consciousness, and to be able to create that in yourself is a really cool skill, and it has a lot of repercussions. So that's, I would say again, to me, that's the point of all this. That's the point of drugs, is the stable altered states, the creative, metaphysics, the creative awareness, the insights. Like that's what makes the planet a better place. That's when you can go. We don't talk about this much, but maybe next time, Chris, we should do one on like ethics and morality and sociology and stuff. But to me, that's the other side that we don't talk about hardly ever. If you go do a psychedelic and it's fun and you have intention and whatnot, you can go do that in such a way that contributes to the world. You can come back with something useful, something interesting, something helpful, a skill, an awareness, you can get a intuition that, you can share. So that these compounds make us better, can make us more of a contribution to this planet in whatever way is your own kind of way of being you. So
that's an interesting topic, the social implications.
Yeah, why don't we just do that next time? Might as well.
Let's plan on it now. But
all right, cool.
We won't commit it to it yet.
Right,
we might change our minds.
Yeah, that's true.
We might be in jail by then. Cool. Yeah, I think I would like to call it. I got to get back to work and stuff, and back to saving the world. I'll end on a different patch. Ready? That's a terrible ending patch. Yeah. Want to call it a show?
Sure.
Okay. Cool. See you, folks. Great talking to you, Preston. We do this roughly
guys.
once a week. Oh, I think I might have an excuse not to do it on Wednesday next week. We'll have to look at our calendar, but I usually I announce it only a few hours actually before we do it, but lately it's been on Wednesdays, and we'll probably do it next week at some point. That's the
good.
best I can do. Okay, bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Cool. Okay, that
Cool.
ended up going